I don't think anyone prepares you for how hard it is to make friends as an adult. We're just kind of thrust out here into the real world, and good luck to us. And then to add insult to injury, you look around and it feels like everybody already has their friend group. Just great people that they've known their entire lives. And yeah, and you're the weird one for not having a group, not having friends. So, I want to talk about the process of finding friends as an adult, maybe what's worked, what hasn't, and I want to talk about the parts that have been discouraging and then the things that have surprised me, hoping that it might relate to you as well. So, everyone knows that it's a lot easier making friends when you're young, in elementary school. You're just lumped with groups of people your own age. You're doing the same thing every day, hours a day. So, it's much easier to connect with people at that point. And yeah, you're swinging together on the swing set at recess and you're best friends forever. Growing up, I moved around a lot. So I got to experience that starting from ground zero with friendships again and again and again. And I was also an introvert, which means putting myself out there and initiating felt really hard and really energy sucking. And I also wanted deep friendships, though. I wasn't gonna settle for those more shallow surface level relationships. I wanted friendships that felt like they actually mattered. Quality in friendships was always more important to me than quantity. So even when I was young, I never had that many people that I would consider friends. But the ones I did mattered a lot to me. Then in college, you would think it was the same thing in terms of, going to classes with people your age, being in that environment. But honestly, it wasn't that easy for me. I was not in a sorority, I did not play sports. So that kind of took out some community spaces right there. And also, I think it's not talked about how in college, everybody a lot of times is just focused on their own thing. You go to class, you maybe pay attention, maybe you don't, and then you leave. A lot of times, the room isn't left for socialization, especially these days with the amount of like remote classes. And of course, COVID did not help. There was a lot of isolation there, and everybody's just doing their own thing. And again, it felt like the groups I saw in college were already formed before they even showed up. So, even in college, it wasn't that easy. But then going to grad school, it seemed to get even worse in a way. I went to a STEM program in grad school, and I think a lot of those people were so focused on research and on, learning so much cool stuff that was going to change the world, but that didn't leave a lot of space in their minds for socialization. So again, I felt kind of lonely in grad school as well. One of the more out there things I've done trying to make friends was join an improv class. And I was not a theater kid growing up. That's not necessarily something that I would do if I wasn't desperate, but I gotta admit, I was pretty desperate. And my mom actually urged me to go out and do it. She was talking about all these life lessons I could gain from it. And it was actually really fun. You got to let your guard down and just be super weird, and you felt comfortable because everybody else was being super weird too. And it really, really pushed me in ways to be comfortable just saying the first thing that comes to mind, to not have everything be so perfect. And yeah, it was nice. I did make connections there. And it was ongoing for months, actually. I didn't walk away with lasting friendships with that, but it really just got me through a time that would otherwise have felt very isolating. So I want to emphasize that too, that friendships don't always have to be long lasting to be meaningful. Oftentimes, friendships just serve you for a season, and that's okay because they can get you through. Also, I want to add that being non religious, that did kind of take away some opportunities there. I would not feel like I could make connections with people who are centering their connections around religious activity, like going to church groups, Bible study. And there was always a lot of that on campus and in my community. So that excludes that opportunity. And for all the jocks out there, this may not apply as well. I know that there's a lot of community softball, dodgeball, all kinds of groups you can find out there. Maybe that would be a good place to start as well. It wasn't for me because the idea of doing physical activity in a group setting kind of scares me, to be honest. So, a question that was on my mind was always, where do people my age go to meet people? So now in the present day, and with my latest move, I'm no longer in grad school. I'm in an environmental data science program online. So of course, not a whole lot of opportunities for connection online like that. But I recommend thinking about the things that bring you joy and trying to find ways to do that in a group setting. Some things I've tried have been book clubs, craft classes. We did a paint and sip type class. I've done a floral arrangement class. And I'm not good at that stuff, but I find joy in it. So at least if you go and do that, you're going to have, a decent time because it's doing something you like. And then it is disappointing, though, to put yourself out there in these group settings. Oh, I'm going to book club. I'm going to meet people who love to read, and we're going to be best friends and talk about books all the time. I've learned that that's not necessarily true. It is possible to still do these activities, to put yourself out there, to feel like you're trying and still not get a whole lot in return. And it does feel exhausting. I'm going to admit it. I'm sure you may have experienced that vulnerability hangover where you go out into the world, into these places, and you're so willing to open up and meet people and make connections. And it just seems like sometimes nobody else is. And that can feel very disheartening. It can feel so tempting to come back to your home and just wrap yourself up in a ball and never go out again. Feeling unseen is just so hurtful. And us humans are sensitive creatures, and it's hard to try and still not succeed. And yeah, that's kind of how I was feeling. It's such a lonely feeling to think, is nobody else lonely? And then you can kind of try to convince yourself that you don't actually need people, that you don't actually need a group, a community. I tell myself I have my cats, that's enough. Until I catch myself laughing, maybe with a stranger or in a group setting, and I realize, oh my God, this feels so good. This is what I was missing. You don't realize how much you miss it until you experience it again, and then you just feel light. You feel hopeful. And it's energizing. You oftentimes have to put yourself out there again and again and again, and it sucks, but the more you do it, the less awkward it feels. And then the worst part, probably, the part that nobody wants to hear, but it's true, is that it takes time. Months, years even. And then the fact that you do have to stay open to it the whole time. Because as soon as you shut yourself off, you stop looking for it, it becomes so much harder to find when you're not looking. And in the meantime, it can be comforting to know that you are not the only one. I promise. And I'm talking to myself from years ago, from myself from months ago even. Others often feel the same way as you. We're all kind of going through this. It's just you don't see that walking around. People aren't holding up big signs saying, I'm lonely, I need friends. But so many of us feel this way on the inside. The takeaway from this is that there are kind people out there who want friends. We are out there. It just takes a long time to find each other. And it's okay if it takes time. I'm learning that making friends as an adult isn't about luck. It's just about trying again and again and being open. It's about being open and staying open, even when it feels awkward and slow. If you've also been trying to make friends lately, please share how it's going for you. What have you tried and what has worked and what hasn't? We're going to figure this thing out and support each other. Thank you guys so much for being part of this conversation. My name is Michele. Please hit that subscribe button and we'll connect again soon.